You guys can sit wherever you want. All right. Sorry for the noise. So, oh, you guys are far enough away. No, but all right. So Lalani, Rachel's not here yet, but we're going to get started. Just to get things rolling. There's not a lot to cover. No one else has joined. So this should be a fairly easy meeting.
Okay, that's good.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can. I can't understand you when you
You
just
gotta
what
talk
you
to
said
the
now.
mic.
Yeah, how come we don't have you on cam? I'm just curious.
Because I'm eating dinner.
There you go. That's a good reason.
Something I'd like to be doing shortly.
Okay, so we'll get through this as painlessly as possible. I did post up on both groups. I don't have that third Bakersfield group, but I never did.
There's a third one?
Someone said,
Yeah, I
there's-
didn't know there was 3.
I thought there was 2 Bakersfield and a Cold Hollow.
There is,
That's all I got.
Right, I'm only on one of the
yeah,
Bakersfield.
there's Bakersfield Community and there's Bakersfield Town Discussion or something. like that.
No,
One,
guess-
one the crabby people go to and one the nice people go to.
oh, there you go. So, Bakersfield, I'm sorry, just one moment. I'm just looking for the agenda that I put out. So it's the same kind of agenda. We're going to cover each section and we can go into more detail under each section so that we can get through this a little more organized. We have under old business, the only old business that we had really was the July 2nd event, which is going to come a little bit later as the recap and discussion. Was there any other old business that anyone can think of or want to cover? Excellent. New business. So under the portion of new business, we have a couple mild things. One, as I was saying a moment ago, I think that at the present moment, we meeting monthly, we don't have a ton of stuff to present and everyone's kind of a little hectic in the summer with their schedules. We've done the July 4th, and unless we're planning some other fundraiser, I'm thinking that maybe we can do a meeting in September, skip August, and so that we're just not burning each other out with nothing to deliver. Is everyone okay with that?
I concur.
Yeah, because actually, I believe the night before, what would have been our normal night is a primary night, and there's a
Right.
concert in the park the night we would be meeting. So even if we just say Bakersfield happenings are happening that week, yeah, I think that's fine. And typically, organizations do take a little bit of a more relaxed schedule in the summer.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm
I-
thinking September.
Yep.
September, okay, so we'll move the next meeting out to the second Wednesday in September. Anything else under new business, anybody? Well, we've got proposal lost internet. I apologize, we must have lost internet for a moment. Can you hear us now?
I can now, yes.
That was kind of wild. We're going to cover that underneath the potential locations, if that's okay.
I guess I didn't see their schedules. so I'll
Sorry.
follow your lead.
Okay. It's almost the same agenda every time with a tweak here or there. Lalani, did you have anything that you wanted to discuss under new business?
I don't believe so.
Okay, moving on. So let's go to the 4th of July recap. As we all know, because we all participated, and thanks for everyone who helped, including Rachel, who's not here at the moment. July 2nd, we had our event. We were able to raise $810, thanks in part to the person who redonated the 50/50 that they won from us. I forget who that was. I
You
apologize.
and Bear.
There you go. So thank them for turning the winnings back into us so that we can move forward with some things. It's a nice little start, $810. If we decide to do anything on inspections with any building or anything of the such, at least it'll give us the minimal to get that done via the Preservation Trust. I think that myself, just recapping, we've had hamburgers and hot dogs and 50/50 chances and the hot chocolate.
Chocolate milk.
I keep doing that. I don't know why I turned that to hot chocolate. chocolate milk.
On a day like today, it might have been hot.
Yeah, yeah, and the chocolate milk, all of which went over great. We had just a handful of hot dogs left. But all the burgers, we sold out of the burgers. We were definitely out of the chocolate milk and the 50/50, as I said. What was the total that the 50/50 made? Was it, did you say 110 times two, Lalani? Was that it?
Yeah, I think so. Something around there. I'd have to look back.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Would you say that was a good amount for hamburgers and hot dogs for an event like that?
Well, I was glad we sold them all. I was nervous we weren't going to get rid of the last six, to be totally honest.
It was probably a good amount.
It was a good number, but the problem was it kept coming in waves. So it was like, oh my God, we're not going to have enough. And then we cook, 10 extra burgers or whatever, and then they're sitting there just stewing on the grill. So
Yeah, I think it was a good amount.
I think in prior years, it may not have been enough,
Yeah.
but considering, the group that we had, it was fine.
Well-
I did speak with, who was there from the fire department?
Well,
Paul Stanley.
Talked with Paul Stanley, and he had a good idea of what the previous years the scouts had done.
Mhm.
I don't know what their pricing was, but he said they never did much more than 800.
Well, that's good.
So
That's good. And I also want to mention Rosalie. I forgot to thank Rosalie for her coming out and helping us as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was great.
that was the
And
entertainment.
Sue Ann.
And Sue Ann. And yes, I shouldn't ignored my girlfriend, Sue Ann, as well. Thank you.
I just wanted to
Yes.
say that I think we can't look at the past because it was structured so different and we
Right.
came off the parade. People could smell fries and it immediately brought them. I think, and it was at noontime. This is a more stretched out dinner time. And I feel like if I were to do it again next year, hearing what you're saying, I think those are good numbers.
I agree.
Because I hated to come back the next day with our previous celebrations and have to divvy up food. I'll buy this for this, just to, so
Right.
that you didn't get left with stuff. that,
Right.
So it sounds like it was a decent.
I was disappointed in Lance. He didn't want more hot dogs and hamburgers. I tried my best to sell them all.
I offered every time I saw him.
That's right.
I also think that, and you're right, that we can't compare it with any other year because this was a very compressed timeline.
Right.
But a good part is that it was all donated.
Correct.
And so that we. didn't
Yeah,
have to-
huge kudos to Rachel for the majority of that lift.
Yeah.
She did awesome.
Maybe what we need to do is a follow-up thank you note to both stores.
Mhm.
Yes.
I can talk with Rachel about that and, if there's a person, I'm in Enosburg on a regular basis.
Right. Shopping or
I
whatever.
just think these Hannaford's went out over and beyond and
Oh, yeah, I completely agree.
That was mentioned in a private conversation. I think I had with you, Leilani, and
Yeah, I was gonna put together some cards to send out to them.
we'll move on that quickly.
And I did go to the fire department. They were closed the next day, Sunday, but I did catch them. I think on Tuesday it was open and I went in and cleaned the grill more, their grill, cleaned it up. And Paul said it's cleaner than it's been in years, so he was happy. So I was out the door.
couple of other thoughts. It seemed like maybe we could have used more chips.
Yes,
Not a big deal. How many, anybody have a sense, Leilani, you might know, another 5 bags, like maybe?
that probably would have been good.
Yeah, we ran out at the last, I think we ran out when we were just with hot dogs left. There were a couple burgers and hot dogs. It wasn't, we were close. We were really close. I know you guys started trying to stretch them.
Yeah,
I don't know when the stretch started, but
it happened pretty early. Yeah, maybe we could have just metered how many we were giving away a little better or something, but it worked out in the end. It was fine.
And probably keep the cheese at the full 80 burgers. Don't assume people don't want cheese.
yeah. We, and we, honestly, about a dozen burgers got half cheese until you showed up with the extra cheese. We were just folding them and putting them. We were trying to stretch that. We didn't think about it. You know what I mean? And there were, I think only like 4 or 5 burgers went out without cheese.
Yeah, there were not many.
I was actually, yeah.
Most people want cheese on their burger.
Yeah, I was actually surprised no one asked for a piece of cheese on their hot dog. That kind of shocked
Well,
me.
and that's what I thought, get the 80, and then if somebody wants it on their hot dog, you have it just in
Right.
case.
Right.
Onions, I can tell you, we didn't need 6 Vidalias. I think a couple onions or the frozen onions are,
Yeah,
they went a long ways.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, we did not need that many.
Which is fine, better to have it.
I still have onions frozen at home.
Yeah, well, good, me too. The rolls, that was the other
Oh.
one I had on this list. So do we take them out and keep them in a tote here? Would that work?
I think that would be better. Freezing those rolls were just a train wreck. Those rolls became so brittle. Like I was putting them, I just opening them up to put them down on the grill. They were falling apart. I mean, I threw like 3 hot dog rolls away. I couldn't even, it was no salvaging them. They were a
I
wreck.
think we should have taken them out a lot earlier to thaw.
Yeah,
Do you think they needed to even be in the freezer if she got them on Tuesday? So
Probably not.
my only concern is if we're putting them in totes and it's hot out, it's gonna cause a
Yeah.
moisture thing that could cause mold.
Never hot in here.
Well, I'm just saying, mold, we don't want mold. So unless we got them on Thursday, then I think it's fine. Throw them all in a tote on Thursday for Saturday. I think you're good.
okay. Okay, but at
Myself.
least allow 24 hours for them to thaw.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Propane.
We used about 2/3 of a tank.
Okay.
We didn't do bad at all. Running 2 tanks. I had one that was almost empty. Like if it had a quarter in it, I'd be shocked. And the tank that came back was about, 2/3 down, 1/3 down. So it went fine.
And I thought managing the hot dogs was fine. They don't need much time to thaw out and they cooked okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have any complaints other than they chased each other off the grill once or twice.
And Gary, just to go backwards and thank people, Gary did a great, let's restart this recording and we can sound like we're thanking everyone at the same time. Gary did a great job as well. He really took it serious. He was funny,
Yeah.
he was funny. We had a good time with him. So,
And I know Helen had volunteered, but I believe she's related to Charmaine, who had passed away. like a
Ah.
week. So, I didn't even think to go over and invite her to be part of it. And then I started thinking, I think maybe circumstances were such that she had to. do that.
I think we had a good number of volunteers. The one good thing with the flow, and I didn't get to see it all because had my head in the grill. But I think between Lalani and Rachel behind the counter, and then Rachel actually went and did some other stuff, and you coming and going and you working the hot dog thing and Sue Ann and Rosalie working the buns and all. I think we had enough people. I think we may have even had one too many or so, but I think it went really well. Lalani, how did you feel about that?
I feel the same way. I think we had plenty. Rosalie coming was also helpful. Yeah, I think we had just enough help.
Just a note on that, one person handling the cash was optimum.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Just for consistency and
Right.
accuracy.
Yeah,
It-
I mean,
it makes sense.
Rosalie was chatting, and when I realized that somebody needed to be running and microwaving rolls, I felt like if she could step up, because hopefully my position gets eliminated another year, and I can be more useful over there. But
Right.
It was very helpful to have you do that, Sharon, though.
Oh my God, the microwaving of the rolls saved it because
Yeah.
honestly, putting those on the grill, that was just horrible.
And I thought that they would unthaw with the heat, but it wasn't happening fast
No.
enough, so.
Yeah.
You can eliminate my position, you guys, and I'll do something else.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. No, that's fine. And we
Right.
don't know if we're going to have the same amount of people next year or if we're even going to need the extra next year, if you think about it. We don't know what's happening, but that'll come up in a minute.
But it's always good to have the notes, so you know what you did rather than trying.
Yeah.
Yes, at it. Correct. Correct. So, how did you two ladies went off and did the 50/50 sales? How did that work for you walking through the crowd?
She was doing the 50/50, I was doing the glow
Glow
sticks,
sticks.
so.
Anything?
I mean, I probably did another 50, $60.
Nice.
I,
Rolling through the crowd.
I sold you and her a winning ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, we ate most of that cheese. Well, not most, we've eaten like 3 sticks of it already. Oh, no, that was the cheese. I'm sorry. I
Which you
apologize,
won.
50/50, which, yeah, we won. So I've enjoyed it. And now I know which cabbage cheese I like and which ones you can keep in the cooler. Almost, there's still more to go. I've tasted, like I said, four of them, I think. Okay, so 50/50 wasn't that bad. And I will say, the only thing I would say, and it was just because of the speed of the day, on the free milk, on the free chocolate milk, was, people were just walking by and I started, towards the end, I started being a barker. We had 3.5 gallons of milk left. And we were, I don't know, it was like 7:30 or 8. And I'm like, oh no, we can move this milk. So I just started pulling people over, telling them about the free chocolate milk, and they had kids. And I'm like, free chocolate milk for your kids. And you know, we're also selling food, but the milk's free. We got rid of that milk fairly quickly after that.
Did we interact with the strawberry shortcake people? I mean, how did
I
they,
Didn't.
how did things go with them?
We made like $150, which is, you know, we do the same thing. Some of us donate the stuff. It's as much for us a presence in the community. I had to say at one point, because I know there's a sign, but the visual makes such a difference. I said, make a strawberry shortcake and stick it on top of that bowl. And once she started doing that, I noticed there were more people coming over.
Yeah.
We did better than we have done when we've had it all day. So it was fine. It's not, you know, a huge money maker for us, but it's a presence.
We need food row. You know, we were kind of segmented, right? You had the Three Sisters Bakery, which I enjoyed that food. Oh, hang on a minute. Here comes
Here.
Rachel. We'll let her go. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you. So
Cool, hello.
I'm just mentioning the bakery, the way the food was laid out. If we could get all the organizations in the same strip, we all may benefit.
Weren't offered that.
I was
We
going
were
to say,
told we could have the south end of the Historical Society.
I liked our location. I got to be honest.
I liked our location too.
Yeah, with the Three Sisters and the Historical Society, and who else was over there? Was it just, it was
I
just
think
those
so.
two? They had 3 sections though. With those 2 over there and then us over with the church and us, people got a little disjointed. It may, just as someone looking at a flow, may benefit folks to kind of put it in a line. But besides that,
We were catching people that, they were coming right into the event and they'd stop immediately.
yeah, I liked that, Lalani. I liked our spot. I thought we had a really good spot.
And we were in the shade, which was nice.
Right, because when
Yes.
I showed up at 3:30, I looked by the building and I was like, there is no way with this sun coming that I want to be over there. So
Right.
I went that way. The other thing was we didn't have power through the Historical Society. So I wanted to bring the cords so that we
Across.
weren't going to have people tripping over them.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
that
that worked really nice, Sharon.
Now, whose
that
cord
was a
was
good
that?
setup.
Because we didn't use any of my cords.
Lance's.
Nice cord. It was easy enough. I had a 100-footer. I don't know what that was. I would think it was longer than
It
100
was
foot.
200 foot
Yeah.
cords. I felt like if he could offer it, I
Yeah.
just, because I knew I could get up there early, I could do it at my own pace.
Right.
And, I think you guys, when it got real busy, you all took over and I think we're a good group that works well together.
I agree. I thought it went off very well. Rachel, we're actually just recapping the 2nd of July event. Do you have anything?
No, not that I can think of right now. Just that I think it went off really well. I agree with Sharon. Everybody, we're a really great group that works together. I thought it was great.
Perfect.
I think we
Now-
could do it again, no problem.
It was brought up that we're looking to get some cards. Thank you cards.
I mentioned we should write some thank you notes and I don't mind doing it. I just need contacts. And maybe I can connect with you, Rachel, since you, and I know with Paul, I can run it to his mailbox, but it's the group that he's involved with, the Dairy Council or whatever it is.
Right.
Um,
Franklin
Leilani,
County
you
Dairy
had a
Council.
thank you list that was posted. Were there any other groups that we should acknowledge?
No, I had both of the Hannafords, I had the Bakersfield Village Fire Department, Bakersfield Volunteer Fire Department. And then, yeah, I wasn't sure, because I know it's the Vermont Dairy Promotion Council, and I think that Franklin has, each county has their own branch or whatever you want to call it. I don't know the official organization. Well, it's Vermont Dairy Promotion Council. I just don't know the Franklin County one, what it's called.
I actually think that's the name of it. If I remember correctly, and I'm going to look it up right now, I think it's the Franklin County Dairy Council.
I was remembering that person that won the 50-50 raffle and then just gifted us their winnings right back. I feel like they deserve a shout out of their own.
Yes, I agree.
That was amazing.
Probably have an address for her. Yep.
Cool.
I can get some notes out. Give me a few days, but I will do that in the next week.
Cool.
I would say reach out to Paul
Yeah.
and just ask him who the thank you and should go to for the Dairy Council for the Franklin.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to make sure we think separately because Paul was kind of representing both organizations. I want to make sure we thank both the fire department and the Dairy Promotion Council.
Okay, so the fire department helped us directly, or were you thinking more just in general to?
I mean, both, they lent us their gear, their previous experience,
Gary.
Yeah, Gary, condiments.
Yep.
Yeah, they were so happy to see me bring back a lot of those condiments, by the way. They were so happy to see ketchup instead of mustard. They're like, great, now we have to look at something else. And
That's great.
like, hey,
Are you being sarcastic?
I may be a little facetious here. I'm not sure though.
Just checking.
So, anyhow, okay. So the second we all agree went off pretty well. The other thing I want to, Rachel, bring up to you is we are going to, our next meeting is September, the second Wednesday of September. We're going to put some space between the meetings for the summer. So we're not going to have one in August. That's what I'm trying to get out, but it wasn't going to come out that way. So.
Which
That's all right. I mean, I think it'll be okay as long as we stay connected through email. And I mean, email is so easy. We can just shoot each other messages and ideas and developments.
Yeah, I don't want to lose momentum by any means, but
Yeah.
I'm fine. We wait until September.
Yeah.
I do want to reach out to, what is his name? Matt? No, what is his name from Preservation Trust? Goodness, why am I forgetting his name? Either way, Ben, thank you.
Yep.
Just to follow up with him on where we are, and that we were able to, do our first fundraiser, ask him a few questions, both related to what it would look like to hold that money, also what the, various, just get some more information about the inspection so we can be informed in order to make that decision, if that's the route we want to go. Not necessarily organize that with him, just get some information so we can chat about it during our next meeting.
Yeah, totally.
Can you, when you get in touch with him, I think there needs to be some transfer of funds.
Yes.
I don't want to have any of us be responsible for money. I mean, I'm trying to look out for any of us here.
Right.
No, yeah, definitely. That was the first item I wanted to check in with him about, is just to, he had offered to be that, that role for us while we get set up. So I want to take him up on that offer.
Right. And I can, if it makes it any easier, rather than hand them $810 in cash, I can just write them a check
Sure.
to whomever. You let me know.
Oh, we did. I think Rachel and I both have IOUs. So I owe you $4.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Rachel was like 12 or 16 or something like that. I don't remember. So
Yep.
We still owe a little bit of cash to that amount.
Oh, the 810. So I don't have 810. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. You have 810 minus our 2 IOUs.
Okay, cool beans.
But there's slips of paper in,
Yeah.
that was included in there.
Okay, no problem. I got you now. I didn't quite follow, but I get the gist. Anything else on July 2nd? All right, we're gonna move on. The next part is potential location update. Okay. I would say there's a couple things that we should bring about potential locations. First off, I had a discussion with Todd Cosgrove and somewhat Paul, he was kind of in the area about the open space in that they have. They have over 2 acres of land if you're looking at the firehouse, to the left of the firehouse,
The one that they've just been clearing.
the green. Yeah,
Well, it was tall grass and now it's dirt
yeah.
as of today.
Okay, that space, yeah. So there's 2 acres over there that they have. And I mentioned that, if we are still looking for a location, that may be the spot to go. I don't know what that little block says, something about the sound recording. And you guys can hear me okay, right? Leilani and Rachel?
Yep, I can hear you.
John, this is being recorded, correct?
Yes. So the plot of land is available, and with Brigham, who knows what's really going to ever happen with Brigham, if they even want that space, like a piece of it. They still have 2 acres over there. Brigham needs to put in a
Well,
septic.
Dig Safe is going there this week.
Oh, I know what the dirt's from, by the way. We know what the dirt's from. They went over to check the areas for,
No,
I-
a pile of dirt and gravel. There's a pile of dirt, a pile of gravel just adjacent to that property.
okay,
The Contractor who did the paving also had to finish that space.
okay. So sorry to segue. If anyone's watching this, apologize for the confusion. So that is a possibility depending upon what happens with Brigham and how much Brigham even needs. It's just a septic system. Yes,
We spent the time going over to the store building.
yes,
Can we start by talking about that?
go right ahead.
And I realized that I think we need to, just because I think, why did we go over there? And I kind of want to move it forward or not, pending kind of what this group is feeling. I mean, I feel like we have put in some time, we have looked at a couple of other spaces and structurally, I'm not the person to ask. I was impressed. Some of you guys knew what to look for and things. I think when we were there, we were told that there was another person potentially interested, and we made it very clear to Larry that, if you have somebody that's interested in purchasing the store, by all means, don't hold back on our account.
Right.
I did also talk to Cynthia about lease to own option, which they hadn't done before. I was just trying to raise a lot of questions.
Mhm.
And it definitely, in talking to Larry, is apparent that she's more the person, the financial person. She also gave a little bit different summary for what a lease could look like the first year versus. I mean, it is still, and I know we've talked about owning the building. I don't know if we've even talked about leasing. I got the feeling that they are hoping to get somebody in there. It's income that they don't have currently.
Right.
I don't know what this group felt after going through.
I actually felt good about it, and I think it should still be a valid option that we consider as we move forward. I'm not saying that I think we should move ahead full steam without consideration, but I think it should still remain a valid option to weigh.
Purchasing as well as leasing? Both options, Leilani, you're saying, you'd like to stay as valid options?
I mean, I think we need more information to really determine which are, would be feasible.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like in terms of just a conceptual approach.
Right. I mean, I feel like even though the facts are a little bit hazy as far as the likelihood or like it even being a good idea of buying the building, but what would it look like? Like, what if we were to lease this building, or the store space, if we were to lease it, what would that look like for us? And is it even something that everybody wants to consider?
So one of the things I think about is everybody that has used the space, leased the space 5 own or leases back, typically have run it as kind of a convenience store with food. And I see a lot of schlepping of soda and beer, not so much wine, I don't think, water, and the amount of storage for that. I guess one of the things I look at is there something different that could happen in that space that isn't the same as the Jolly? Larry was saying people will come here to buy stuff. I mean, I also know people don't drink soda like they did 10 or 15 years ago. And why fill up a store with something that, I don't know, is that the moneymaker? Mark LaRush's stepson told us when we were looking there, the busiest times were 5 to 7 in the morning and 5 to 7 at night. And I'm thinking they're probably not drinking soda in the morning, but what's the sell? Obviously the coffee getting them in, the breakfast sandwiches, the whatever. So I guess I look at how would the space be used? I also think in terms of, we have an aging community, and thinking about people, and this is just me dreaming, not with the structural specifics, a place where we could support people who want to work 10 or 15 hours a week as kind of a little supplemental income. People that have been in the workforce that don't want a full-time job, but want a chance to be in the community to make a little bit of money, kind of a thing. So I don't know, I just looked at that space the other night and I said, it's bigger than I thought because there's no coolers in there. Do there have to be as many coolers?
Right.
I definitely like the idea of being able to sell food, but like, we know the back of the building, they put a lot of stuff back there. I wish I had a better sense of how much stuff they were storing and all of that. I don't know. There's my 2 cents.
So you like the idea, like you feel like you would be a pro for us leasing the space?
What I feel like is our purpose for the 2nd, was to have a goal to raise money that might enable us to then go to Preservation Trust for an appraisal. This money isn't going to lease or
Right.
buy this building.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it worth getting that professional concept? We're not out any money, to perhaps, get a sense from a professional.
Yeah, I agree, Sharon. I don't think we're at a point where we can decide if we should move forward with a lease or buying or building new. I don't think we can decide that with what little information and funds we have. I think the point we're at, as you said, is to start putting together informed options that we can consider and compare to each other.
So I did ask Larry, and I'm a little perplexed. to be totally honest. And Larry, if you want to give me a call with regards to what I'm about to say, you're more than welcome to. This is a commercial building with people living on the second floor, and there's no fire suppression in that building, and you're cooking. You have a commercial kitchen running downstairs. I know fire marshal, I know state inspector, but I'm pretty sure that's not the code. And, if we're going to cook in there, we're going to be, have to carry insurance and liability and everything else without the proper setup. And I can talk to Todd and Paul. I know what Todd had mentioned before, and Leilani and Rachel were there. What he said on his level of, with the fire and things like that. I'm not going to speak for Todd.
Right.
But the three of us were there at the meeting prior to July 2nd to discuss July 2nd. So there's things in the building that I brought up before. And it's not that you can't fix it. It absolutely isn't. There's nothing, as I always said throughout my career in IT and management, I can do anything with enough time and money. You throw me enough money, I'll build you the Taj Mahal. It's what it's going to take to rehab said building. As for leasing the building, and it's just my 2 cents, because we can't afford to buy the building right now. We have zero funds, zero. Leasing, we still have that same amount of funds, zero funds to lease the building. Even if they cut the price down to $1,100 a month, we're going to have problems. There's no equipment in that building. There's not one piece of equipment. And talking to Larry, he said a lot of the places will bring in the coolers and all in the stands, which is perfect. That's not going to give us the register. It's not going to give us the credit card machine. We have to get all that negotiated out and everything else. That's going to cost us. We have to get cooking equipment. There's not one piece of cooking equipment in there. If we're going to have even breakfast sandwiches, we have to have the capability of cooking it. There's not even the exhaust fans in there. The prior leasee took them with him. He told us he was taking them with him. So we know that we're starting at zero. Now, having said that, building a brand new building, we're still starting at zero. The only difference in building A and building B is really the amount of capital you have to get together to go. We have to, whether we're leasing, lease purchase, or buying, we still have to have money to pay those bills and the equipment bills. And whether we're getting shipping containers and putting them on empty land, we still have to have money to do that. So we
Are
have to
there
figure it out.
any funds? I noticed that during our conversations or setting up this meeting, ARPA came up. And I don't know, is there anything, I know the schools have money due to COVID.
Right.
And they've been throwing it around and finding interesting ways to support things. I mean, I'm taking a class this summer online that they're paying me to do. So I don't know, as a town entity, because this is for the betterment of the town.
Right. I would say that ARPA funds are not for us starting up a business. I could be wrong. It requires the select board to approve the funds expenditures. And in the definition of the ARPA funds, I don't think, it would fall, from what I know and all the stuff I took, it would fall in that purview. I just don't think we would
I
get
want to
funded.
review the final rules, and I'm going to advise anybody that looks at ARPA as an alternative to anything, that they understand the final rules and who eventually has to sign the checks and
Right.
what we're going to do there. While I would certainly entertain a discussion about it, I don't think that's going to be a fund that's available to us. And we've already got a substantial amount of people that want to take advantage of it, which do fall in the final rule. It changed, admittedly.
Yeah.
It's different now than it was last year.
It's different now than it was 6 months ago.
See, I
Well,
guess
that
the
was last year
difference I
almost.
see with a lease is it's a lot easier to make that monthly income to pay a lease than it is to pay, because you have nothing to start with the building. I mean, I hear what you're saying. When you start with a new structure, you kind of own the problems or don't own them.
Mhm.
And, I feel like this group is kind of in a couple different places. And that's why I thought if we brought in, Preservation Trust and we get a sense, because they've been doing this around the state, is this a realistic option? I think we all have some emotion with this.
Yeah.
I am not necessarily tied to this building, but I feel like as we kind of look to other options in the community, nothing has bubbled to the top in a way that,
Well, I still haven't found out about the church. I wanted to talk about the potential other locations. And the reason I was putting the store last is because I knew it would monopolize a chunk of the conversation. There's the church down the street that the gentleman bought for $1 to open up some kind of museum, a
Right.
maritime museum or something. I'm still trying to find out who that is and contact them. There's an empty building that he
there
paid
is
$1
no
for.
plumbing.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's an empty building that we can still take a look at that may cost us $1.
I would never say that it's gonna cost us a dollar.
I
I
said,
don't-
well, that's what he paid for it. I'm
He
just
bought
saying.
it for $1.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the conversation has to happen. The individual obviously is doing nothing with the building and I'm sure they're paying,
Taxes on it.
I was gonna say, I'm sure they're paying the taxes. That's about it, which is costly every year. And so the question is, if they're not gonna do a maritime museum there, maybe we can see if that's an option and go look at the building. I just think that, I understand that the Village Deli's been there for the last 10, 12 years, whatever. And talking to Larry, I did not know that that was not a store through the mid 2000s. That was a snowmobile store.
No,
and
no, no, it
repair.
never made the snowmobile because the community didn't want that. No, it's been a store.
I thought he said he had a snowmobile there that he
had signs, had
repairs.
Equipment in there, he never
Right.
opened it up.
Yeah, but it wasn't a store at that point. He was trying to convert it
No,
over.
it's been a
because-
store.
Was he
What about
selling
the
stuff?
signs and equipment that were in there?
I mean, prior to Larry buying the building, other people had run it as a
Right.
store.
Right,
It's been a store for decades. There was a short time when it wasn't a store
Right.
when he bought the building, but it didn't materialize because I guess of community sentiment. I don't remember exactly.
what he said was he made a lot of money the first couple of years and then the bottom dropped out.
But I don't think he ever opened it here.
No, he said he made a lot of money over there first couple of years. That was when we were staying in there. It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is that there's going to be a recurring bill. It was Lilani,
Rachel's rejoining. Her audio is off.
It's neither here nor there. Somebody's going to have to come up with $1,100 a month plus equipment fees. We don't have that right now. It's still we're still in our infancy stages trying to raise money. We don't have it in the hopes that, in the Field of Dreams analogy, if you build it, they will come. We hope that would happen, but we still have to cover all the equipment costs and everything else, plus the rent to start with. I'm
So
not
one
saying
thought
not
that-
to do it.
So one thought that I would have would be, I still would suggest getting that appraisal. I don't think we have anything to lose. It's, that money, let's just do something with that. Give us some more definitive, objective information. But I think the other thing is to start looking at, well, what do these things cost?
Mhm.
And where do you get them? And you start making a list.
Right.
Because one thing I think helps is if people want something and they know what it's going to cost, and then you start putting that out there. The lease would take care of itself if you have a business up and running. But you've got to have the equipment and you've got to have whatever is needed to get the building to that place. So that's the other thing, and I have no idea what that would be.
Right.
But if it were running in a different way, such that maybe you didn't need everything, you didn't need 15 coolers or however many there were, but you started small, and you started small enough that you can still make a lease payment.
Right.
The other thing with a lease, and I think this was inferred, but we can follow it up with Larry and Cynthia. It's a lease for so many years, 2 or 3 years, and the option to buy, but not necessarily to keep it going if there's a buyer. I guess if we were leasing, we would be okay till the lease ran up, ran out, but somebody could come in. Now, I don't think that's a problem for this group because I don't think we need to own the building. And
Well, that's why I still think Brigham's a good idea too. And I don't know about spending the money right now until we're sure. I think what we should do is find out if this other individual that Larry spoke about is going to buy it and open the store. Well, we got to wait for Larry, we got to wait a couple weeks, reach out to Larry and say, hey, Larry, what's going on with this other buyer? Because they're not going to want to lease if someone's buying, right? We're not going to sit here and double the efforts and open 2 stores in town. We don't have 10,000 people in Bakersfield.
but why wouldn't
So-
you, John, just try getting the appraisal?
Because I'm thinking if we wind up, let's just say that the person who owns the church says, yeah, take a look at it. I'm just throwing money, good money after bad, paying a fee over here. If that's the case and they're willing to sell it for whatever, a couple $100 or whatever the number may be, because they only bought it for $1, then the question becomes, we've already spent the money over here to appraise the building. We don't have the money to appraise the church or figure out what's wrong with that now. You know what I'm saying? And we want to do it once, I would think. We just don't want to, we may want to show up over here. And the other thing I'd say is, remember what the gentleman from the Preservation Trust said originally with us. You want to come into this, now it's buying the building, but I'm assuming it's the same thing with kind of leasing all the equipment and all. You want to come in with like 0 debt because you want it to come in debt free. Remember that whole thing he told us? Because there's no way that if you come in with a debt that you're going to be able to turn enough business up originally. So unless we're all willing to kind of put our own money into this or our homes to back it, we need to think, a little more one ring out, I guess is the way to put it. So that, before we spend the $500 with the Preservation Trust to go look at this building, maybe we should make sure this is the building that we absolutely want. Or
think
Larry
we
isn't.
need information to make that determination. No, I
We
don't think we
have the
have
money
enough
to pay.
information to make.
Leilani, we don't have the money to pay. We can go get it inspected tomorrow and the building sells and we've blown the $500 there where we.
Right,
could
and
use
then
it
we do
somewhere
another
else.
fundraiser, so we do an inspection on the church. I don't think we're only gonna spend, I don't think it's possible or logical that we're only gonna do one analysis.
I think we identify a location and go for the location. The problem is
And
this
then what happens
location's
if
up for
that one
sale
doesn't work out?
and they have to sell it.
So-
They want to sell it. Let's put it that way.
So it's been on the market for 2 years.
Has it been 2 years? All COVID? Okay, but it's only been emptied out for 2 weeks or a
Right,
week.
but it had been on, I believe, before. I mean, does it make sense to approach Larry and say, Larry and Cynthia, we want to, talk to Vermont Preservation Trust, have them come in and look at it with us. But if you think you've got a buyer, it does not make sense for us to sink any money into an appraisal. I mean,
I want to caution the language here. It isn't an appraisal, it's an evaluation.
Evaluation.
It's in a mechanical, structural, electrical, anything that has to do with that building
Inspections.
will be evaluated. We get to decide what it means to us. So if it's going to be $250,000 just to bring it to code, we haven't even talked about the septic system there yet. We haven't talked about the water that serves there. We haven't talked about anything other than the building structure itself.
Right,
I do think we do need to spend the $500 to get matched by the Preservation Trust, to have them evaluate the structure in a way that allows us to make a decision. I don't care about anybody else. We have to make the decision.
Right.
whether we're gonna
I
go
don't think
forward.
we can
I don't
make
care
the decision until we have that information.
I agree with
without-
Darren and Leilani on that point. And if it's necessary, I mean, to find out, Leilani, you actually mentioned this, about speaking with Ben to find out, if you can, access that grant more than once. Which, I mean, I don't know if that's possible or not, but I think that it would be important. I agree with Sharon and Leilani, and it sounds like Brenda's kind of coming around to that point too, that it's important to know what we're looking at before we make that decision, from the experts.
spend the money again, that's okay, because we're still
Okay.
moving forward. We're still looking at options. We haven't excluded anything, but we want to exclude or include this in those options. One of the things that I think will be easy to point out is that we will not enter into an arrangement, any arrangement with that property that will allow us to be there debt-free.
Right.
So that from a bottom line standpoint, there's gonna be a mortgage. I'm not gonna hold a note on $250,000 before we make it usable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess the equipment stuff, I mean, some of it is part of rental fees, the cooler, you pay so much. I
Mhm.
mean, I would be interested in kind of getting more enlightened around how that all works.
Right.
And the other thing is, you get the equipment and maybe that's where you look for some donors. You want an angel, I want about 25. Because if you spread it, there might be somebody, I don't know, $100 sponsors, for some very specific things, which I think, and it's not the least, it would be to get equipment to be able to have some of the things that people want. I think there are people that would do that.
Oh, I don't doubt that there's people that would do it. I'm just saying myself, and it's fine. If everybody decides they want to spend the $500 on this building, then we spend it on this building. It's as simple as
But-
that. But, but the $500, once we do it, we got to make sure that whoever's doing the inspection, they need to understand, we plan to put cooking equipment in there, right? Which means heavier electric. So they need to understand we're going to be cooking in there. We're going to be having coolers and everything else in there. As for the rental of the coolers, it all comes down, as far as I understand what Larry was kind of saying, is who you go with. So if you decide you want to go with Pepsi, Pepsi will bring in the cooler and everything else. And then Pepsi products or Coca-Cola products or whomever, Monster drink products. He was saying that they kind of supply the cooler and they load it with their stuff and they come every week and load and unload, which is great. The big walk-in cooler that everybody kind of stepped through the other night, you weren't there, but the rest of us did. That's not going to be anyone bringing that in. We have to put the stuff, we have to get those cooling units and put them in the basement where they were before. And that was Larry telling us that Mr. Westcomb
Yep.
is the guy to talk to about that stuff also, Larry.
Yep.
That you have to talk to him about that. He knows where to buy this equipment. The oven, Blodgett ovens or whomever we're going to use to make pizza in, because that's one of the things that we were talking about, or food. We need to figure that out. We have to, that's a purchase on us, either used or new. Frying equipment, used or new.
Ton of stuff out
No.
there used.
Yeah,
I also
it'll,
know where all that inventory from the store wound up.
well, I know where some of it's over at Rosalie's. She showed me it. She's got 3 Blodgett ovens. She's not giving them up.
Yeah, no, but
So-
there's other things that we're taking from there that is in one spot and it's not far away.
I have a
So-
It's all used.
question.
Uh-huh.
I have a question. Sorry, my video and the audio is off sync. So if I am like blurting in, I apologize.
You're fine.
Okay. What's my question? My question is, it's kind of like a bigger scope question that's not, that could lead everything completely off course, this conversation. But it's, we're talking about leasing equipment and getting all of the mechanics for the walk-in to be operational and stuff. But it makes me wonder, who's running this? Who's going to own the business? Are we like, do we need to bring people in that, do we need to hire somebody with a business plan, or do we want to do that? Or are we all going to, put in volunteer hours and get this stuff, and like our nonprofit buys it or our trust buys it and it's our equipment? Because I've worked in some restaurants in the past where it was one or the other, where the equipment was there, the owner of the restaurant, the owner of the building, it was their equipment. And also some restaurants where they just leased, the owners of the building just leased out the building. And then the new business owners came in and bought all their new stuff or leased out all their new stuff. So that's what I'm curious about. And I know that that's a huge topic and that's a big long-term question, but I think it's something that it's just been in the back of my mind a lot. What are we? Not to totally derail us, what are we and what do we want? Because it's kind of coming into play a little bit now. We're talking about leasing, we're talking about needing to get permits and needing to get engineers and all this stuff. Like, yeah, it begs this question. So if that derails us, I apologize. I felt like I needed to bring it up.
I think it's a very good question and I think it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something that we talked about last year when I proposed the idea, where we looked at how other cooperatives and country stores did this. They all started with zero debt. They all built the structure up to where it could be habitable by what they call an operator. And that is where you provide it either as a turnkey or somebody comes in and brings their own equipment in. Either option has us acquiring a property that right now is valued at is not valued at, but I would say that the price is over $250,000. That is simply not a doable thing for us. And if the current owners need to make money to get out of their obligations to the bank, this is not a win-win situation. We're not going to be that people or persons. We're not going to be that entity. $250,000 might as well be $1 billion or $1 trillion, because it's not something that I can see any model supporting. I mean, every model that is in the state right now does not have a $250,000 starting debt, period. It's one of those things that we really need to look at the lessons that we saw and take them for pretty much the pathway for any of these venues to be successful. And, you know, I have at least one friend who's personally involved with one of these. They did start out with no debt. They started out and now they've got about $1 million in into the renovations and there's funds. And that's all from private donors, private people put a lot of money in that, wanting that little store and out in the boondocks.
Right.
So I gotta tell you, you know, again, we need to be able to evaluate and make a decision based on real money, not something that we think we can do or want to do. We do 100 pizzas there at $15 a pizza. That pays the rent, but we haven't paid for the materials to get it there, the heat, the ovens, the electricity, nothing. So is 100 pizzas a real thing? Yeah, I'll tell you, when I talked with the last person who turned out pizzas in any great degree, they would do upwards to 80 to 100 pizzas a night. Think about the labor that goes into that.
And that's the people we need there to work it. And the other thing is, to go back to the beginning when we started having these discussions, I believe the two things I said we needed was a business perspectives and a mission statement. That was my first two things, Rachel. I know you weren't here, that I said we needed to do, and we still haven't addressed. But I took a stab at a mission statement just to get us moving. But honestly, we've never even identified that. And if we ever want to go for grants or any kind of funds, they have to be completed, because that's the first thing they ask you in the forms. So we're putting carts before horses. We're
Yes.
doing all kinds of stuff. And I know we have passion. Listen, I don't doubt any of the five of us don't have passion. There's no doubt in my mind the passion that we have. And we may not all see in the same, venue kind of thing out there, but we all have passion. If we didn't, there wouldn't be five of us here. Think about it. We started out with, what was the first meeting? 40, 30 people?
Oh, I don't think there were that many, but there were a lot of people
I
online.
know there was, I counted, okay, maybe it was around 20, but there was, anyhow, we had a lot of people, and rapidly that number dwindled. And I'm talking within 2 meetings, that number was down to less than 10. And we've dwindled down even further to 5. And we're the final 5, if you want to call it that, right? And you could toss Rosalie in here. She helps. She doesn't make the meetings, but we're like the final five here. And we have a vision and we know that we can, if we push hard enough, we can make it happen. But realistically, just so everyone understands, I believe I said this to pretty much everyone here, Marsville, when they opened their co-op, took over 5 years. We're trying to do it in under a year. We still don't have a mission statement. We still don't have a business perspective put together. We're doing things in the wrong order. That's all I got to say.
I feel like we should really appreciate and or not appreciate accept and roll with the fact that this could take 5 years. I think that that is a comfortable number. I think that if we want to do something, we should do it right. After hearing everything you just said, John, I think it's maybe we should like we did an awesome job. We've proved that we can work together. We've proved we can plan and execute. And I think this is fantastic. We're in a good spot. Maybe, excuse me. We should pump the brakes a little, not necessarily the brakes, but just start honing in our focuses and all focus on that mission statement. Simultaneously keep fundraising rolling. So like we're actually getting things done and raising money. And I mean, we've got all these wonderful ideas for locations and how to go about getting them. And that's awesome. And we should still keep tackling that. But it sounds like, and that we really need to focus on that mission statement and raising money. Like those are the two basis things so that we can focus on making the correct steps ahead.
I think the thing we have to be careful about with the fundraising is for people to understand why we are raising the funds. It's not just for a general store.
That goes back to the mission statement.
Right, right. And so we can't burn these 5 people out trying to fundraise in a way that doesn't enable us to use our cognitive faculties to work on things like the mission. The stuff that probably isn't as much fun, but I agree, does need to happen, because without that, we can't have some momentum. I have fully accepted that it's not going to happen in the time frame that maybe I had hoped. And I accept that 5 years. And I think we just keep plugging away and looking at options and doing the things like this. I do not want to be a storekeeper as one of the 5 of us. I mean, some of you guys have jobs that you're fully committed to. I will be less committed in a year, but this isn't what I want to fill my time with. I like the challenge of doing this groundwork and finding people, but you still have to have, you called it an operator, somebody that is overseeing, if it's a co-op or some sort of a group entity, there has to be somebody, even if we are the overseers. I mean, I just think about in a small way, when we ran the teen center here, we had people that worked with the teens and the preteens, but 2 of us oversaw the grants.
Right.
And it was our job to get the paperwork in, to have the structure so that they were behaving themselves, so that the town officials would allow us to be here. And I think I don't mind taking on that role. I just don't want to be a regular in the store and this is my new job kind of thing.
To do a caveat or to dovetail off what you're saying, once we get the mission statement and our business perspective kind of ironed out, then we have to address the other piece in the room. And that is, what are we?
Right.
And we need to put in, and there's 5 of us, and I keep coming back to 5 because really so far there's 5 of us, 6 if you count Rosalie. I don't want to take her out of there, but you need an executive board that sits on top of this.
Yeah.
And frankly, right now we're kind of working in that capacity without really saying it because we haven't put together the organization. So that's what I'm saying. And I know I sound like I'm preaching. I'm sorry. You know, I run a business.
Yeah.
So there's certain steps you have to do. And the building is not step 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. We have to get ourselves in the right line to start moving forward. And then once we start getting the machine going, And we've now got our mission statement. We now have our business perspective. We now have our executive board in place with official titles. We now have everything in line. We've incorporated, we've 501 seated, whatever it may be. Then we just start trying to collect as much funds and fundraising as we can to come into a building. And I'm not knocking Larry's building at all, because I don't expect it to be around by the time we're really ready to do this. All right. I would assume that I would hope for Larry's sake, if he really wants to sell it, that he sells it. And as I said to somebody the other day, it'd be perfect if someone started a store in there, then we could just kind of put the brakes on this. We don't need it. We have our local store. We could always make the pub though. Right, Rachel?
I think-
Fire eaters.
I think the pub would be good.
So,
John,
but you get the
so-
gist.
That's right.
I think we can agree on exactly one thing tonight, and that is to take the money from our fundraising effort and park it in a legal fiduciary interest in the Vermont Preservation Trust. I'm
Right.
sure that they'll have a spot for that money to sit and wait for us to use it. And if he's, if he wants to be part of, and I think he indicated this, that he would absolutely want to be involved in doing what John outlined for us. And Rachel, I don't know if you went back and looked at some of the discussions we had, but the norming part or the forming part that we've left off, we went right into the yummy feel-good stuff.
Right.
We got to go backwards, and I think we got to go right back to square one with where
Pretty
we're gonna head.
almost. Now, I did send out a mission statement. Lalani, remind me, you and a couple other folks were tweaking it, if I remember, for election day. So I think we need to just dust that off and see if that fits what we're really trying to do. And then what we need to do is maybe talk to the Preservation Trust and give them our $810. And after we do that, we need to talk to them about not so much inspection of buildings, but business prospectus, right? How do we get this thing? And then we put an executive board in place and we get ourselves set up so that we do it the right way. And then we can, the building will come. The building, I swear to God, will come. It may take us a bit. And as I said, if someone comes along and they put in a store, there's other things that we don't have in this town.
Absolutely.
Pool hall, bar.
I agree.
So so you don't even want to have them look at it. See, I guess one of the things that I felt like is, would this be a partial learning experience? Everything we've done so far, I'm growing. I have not grown a business.
Right.
I worked in education, so it's a very different way. You have a very different perspective, business perspective, mission statements I have been involved with.
Right.
But the business perspective, like, that's kind of scary to me.
That's right. It may cost us money. See, that $810 we may need that for just the first steps I talked about, fees and things like that. Listen, a 501c doesn't come free per se. You've got to put an application, there's fees behind. Right. So everything costs. And I think that $500 can be better spent, because I don't think that building's going to be around. No offense to anybody, not around like it's going to fall down, but I'm hoping for Larry's sake, it's still not for sale when we finally get enough money to start really rolling forward and do something. I just think we got excited. And in certain ways I've tried to just kind of say, hey guys, and I didn't mean to do it this way. I feel like I'm kind of more like a boom, boom, boom right now, but the building is not in the first 4 or 5 steps that we need to cover. That's down the road. We can't afford the building. And I've said that. No, leasing, lease to own, buy outright.
So did you support us looking at it, appease our desire to look at it? That may change.
I was, I knew that a lot of people after going through the building questioned what we saw the first time. And unfortunately, and again, Larry, if you're listening, you can give me a holler, but unfortunately you can't see half the stuff we saw. It was so dark in the basement. There was no light down there. None of the lights were working. When we went into the other area, you couldn't see it unless I took pictures of it before, which I did present at our first meeting. It was very difficult to see anything. The one section of the floor looked like it was repaired. I pointed that out to Rachel. Another section was still the same problem. There's a couple things with outlets, a couple things with power lines. But we could, as I said, I have no doubt if we bring someone in to look at the building, we're gonna come out with a grocery list of stuff that because, and this is no surprise to anyone who buys anything, code changes. And when we transfer hands, we've got to get things recertified that has not had a business in there for 2 years or more.
A year in May. So yeah, we're working on the second year.
No, that business closed down before May.
It was May. It
Was
was
it
May
May?
2021.
Okay, so it's been over a year. You're gonna have to get everything redone in there again. And as I said, I can only talk for commercial space that I know, and I happen to work for a company that leases out commercial space. You have to have certain things in place. This is a converted home that they put a business in downstairs and put an apartment upstairs, you know, as a store and all. And I don't know how to code that is without fire suppression.
We've now gone over an hour without moving forward or
Yeah.
backwards or sideways.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think, yeah, I definitely think we've made a step here, but,
Well, let's get the money in with Preservation Trust.
right.
Let's talk to them about how we need to go back to building us as an entity that actually exists. And then see what the options are. But I absolutely agree with what John said. We need to, I don't know any lawyer that's free. And if we're gonna do this legally, we're gonna have to have paperwork done that protects us all
Right.
from the liability of what we're going into.
Right. That's how I figured that 810 is going to go to, if not more. We may not have enough. We may need another fundraiser just to get enough money to get ourselves incorporated or whatever term we're going to use.
So
Um,
ladies
could-
on the.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
Ladies
Sharon.
on the screen. Can you guys share your thoughts? I feel like I voiced something and we've, Brenda and John have, but how about you guys?
I agree with the strategy that we need to at least get the money into the official fund through the Preservation Trust, hold it there, and then we can gear up for our next meeting. I think maybe having been part of our next meeting, and he has offered to put together a panel of people who are involved in other projects similar to ours. I think we should have those involved in our next meeting, and we should come to that meeting prepared with all of these kinds of questions for them to get their experience and input.
I agree. I can I can give the Jenny a call again and try and get a hold of the trust that got the Albany Jenny up and running, as well as the Craftsbury Jenny. And then I can also reach out to the Varconis, the business owners of the Brownsville General, and get a hold of. Yeah, Brenda?
We've got the Elmore store. We've got the Elmore store as well, and Jamie
Elmore
from
store.
the Alice store.
Who's the Owl? The Owl Bistro Owl? Is that another?
That is not.
I think the Tunbridge
I know.
store too, maybe.
We have Morrisville. Morrisville's right close to Co-op.
Montpelier has a huge,
Yeah, and there's isn't there a co-op down in St. Albans? But I think that's like grain or farmers or something.
that
isn't it?
is a farmer's co-op.
Yeah.
They supply most of the milk for Ben and Jerry's.
So how
Wow.
about before we meet again, if you folks who have information on these places, we try and share it with each other and try and educate ourselves and get a little bit more knowledgeable of these options. We've got a
Sure.
couple months to do it.
Yeah.
Can somebody
Who's calling the prison? Go
Can
ahead,
some
Rachel.
share the mission?
Statement? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to find where it is, or Lalani may have it. It went out in emails. We'll look
Yeah,
for it
we
and
have
try
it
to
in the
get you a
drive.
copy.
Oh, it's okay.
It was included in the handouts that we were given out for the 2nd of July.
Okay, I'll go take a look.
But I'm happy to send the links for it.
Okay, if I can't find it, I'll email you.
And who's reaching out to the Preservation Trust?
I will. I have an open conversation with Ben.
Lalani, just find out who I should make this check out to that they can put in, and you two worry about your IOUs. You can get it to me whenever you want. I'm not going to panic. I'll just write a check for 810. If you can find out where it's being mailed to and who I you know, how we do that. And
Yep,
I
will
don't even
do.
know, do they book what, how the heck's that gonna happen? We get some kind of statement. We really ought to figure out. Now, I will say this, and I'm gonna go. We'll get the open discussion in a half a second. Actually, I think we've been in it. But I know some folks are still waiting to eat dinner. So I did call down to New England Federal Credit Union. I had a conversation. I could put the 810 into a bank account and the IRS implications and all because we're not incorporated. We're not a 501c3. Yeah, it all falls on the individual. They also, because of that, it's not a business account, so you can't require two signatures, which I think is paramount.
Yeah,
I think
don't
that we
like
should
having
require
it
two
in one
signatures for
person.
everything. Exactly. So, you know, we'll take care of that, but let's figure out the preservation trust. Lilani, you can either shoot me the contact information or just send me who I'm writing this check to and how we make sure where it gets there.
And we don't want an account that would be nickeling and diming us every month for
Right.
fees, so.
Correct. We have $810. We don't want to find out in 6 months, we have $203 because there was some fee. Anyone else have anything other than building, you know, and things like that?
Nope.
All right, then go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, maybe you're saying no. Okay, then I'm going to call it to a close so folks can get some dinner in them. Thank you both for joining on Zoom.
Thank you,
Ladies,
everyone.
thanks
Thank
for
you so
coming.
much.
Go from there.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.